kick off.
Okay, John, hands right. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you, Marie. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this month's update for our partners. We have got some really exciting demos today, as Marie, if those of you here earlier would have heard Marie say. Well, first up, we're gonna show you. If you slip to next slide there, Brad. We're going to talk about our brand new UC self-serve portal. This is really exciting. This is one of the best things we've done in this portfolio in a long time, I'd say. It's that exciting. We're going to give you a demo of it. We're really in early stages, but you absolutely have to see what we have done. Then after that, we've got, as Marie said, we have a couple of guests joining. We've got Ray and Darren who are from Nimbus, who will be talking about the Nimbus portal and the types of administration that you can use it for. So it's really think of it as an administration portal is the way I think of it for all things Tippet and SIP Connect. So if you want to see how many registered devices you've got or do some auditing of what you've got out there, that's the type of thing you can see. And then we have Graham from Tollring. Graham's going to show us off their reporting and analytics package. This is more around your call reporting, you know, where a call's going, what percentage of calls are coming from particular locations, etc. So two different kinds of packages. I'll say right up front, I'm sure the guys will say it as well. These guys are not partners in their own right, in that they're here to work with you guys, that our partner community. You can sell their services onto your customers. They're not here to compete with you. It's a complementary service that you can actually sell alongside or sell their service to your customers. Okay. So Brad, if you want to move on to the next slide for me, please. We'll start with the UC self-serve portal.
You just want to mention the questions and chat, Paul?
Paul, you forgot to mention the questions in chat. Yes, Brad, you've got a great idea. So as we move through this, if you'd like to ask questions, down in the bottom there in the button, which is the third from the right, so the one that looks like a little talk bubble, use that please to ask any questions that you need. So if you ask them during the meeting, we will try and answer them during the meeting. If we get to the end and we have some time, we'll answer them verbally. And I think we've all sort of said, hey, if you want to keep asking questions after the time limit is up, we'll hang around as long as we need to. Okay. So let's start with the Tippet AMC portal. So AMC stands for Adds, Moves and Change. So what has really driven this is COVID-19, to be honest. So what we found when we first got hit with the lockdowns was that we lost about 70% of our provisioning capacity. As you would be aware, we have a number of onshore staff, particularly for those non-consenting customers who would prefer we didn't send their work overseas. But the majority of our staff are based overseas to do a lot of the provisioning work based in India. As they were all sent home, that caused us a large loss of capacity, particularly as our privacy protocols are quite strict. The guys in India, you know, aren't even allowed to sort of have a paper and pen in the office in case they write down customer details. So you can imagine their working from home policy certainly didn't allow them to take a laptop home and access Telstra customer details from home. So that meant most of them were effectively locked out unless they were actually an Telstra employee over there, which some of them are. So that has caused us a problem. Our provisioning queue blew out to about 1,700 tickets waiting in queue. Most of those, or a large number of those, weren't really brand new projects. They were simple adds, moves and changes going, you know, I suddenly need to increase the number of call center agents I have, you know, because I'm taking more calls now than I was before, or my SIP trunk capacity is at limit. I need to increase the number of SIP channels I have urgently, please. So those are the sorts of things we saw, and we were like, okay, we've got to fix this quickly. Bearing in mind, we don't have enough people to actually do the provisioning work. How can we deliver a portal that our customers can use to just do their own AMCs? And our wish here was not just so you could submit something and then wait while it sat in the queue, that you could submit something and it happened immediately. That is the big thing here. So what we're going to deliver is something that when you go in or your customer goes in, and orders one more call center agent, standard call center agent pack, for instance, that gets applied immediately. They click the last of the submission buttons. It then gets sent off to provisioning to be billed. That may, given the current queue, take a while, but that's the more important thing, is to get the customer what they need. So we'll have this concept of walk out working, because the end user is also going to get sent their Business Connect credentials. So if you're ordering a brand new user, for instance, the user will get an email to say, download Business Connect from here, and by the way, here is your username and password. Feel free to log in now and start using it. So we're hoping, if that all goes to plan, that will free up the provisioning team to focus on the more complex brand new ads, the creation of enterprises groups, moving in numbers, migrations, all the really complex stuff that we have to do. And we're hoping we can push more of the AMC work through the portal. Hopefully that will improve our customers' NPS and reduce book to bill and fast track revenue, which is particularly important, obviously, for both of us. You guys obviously would obviously want to get your commissions faster as well, which we'll talk about on the next slide. Brad just goes to the next slide, if you don't mind. Thank you. And this is where we are going to phase in the access to the portal. So phase one is the enterprise customers will get access. So we're starting with some customers this week. In fact, our first couple of orders went through last Friday. We're just shaking out the platform over the next couple of weeks, and then we're going to do some mass invitations to our customers. Now, if you're working closely with a customer and they're happy to give you or create you some credentials for their group, as in a CGA access to their group, then obviously you would have access on behalf of your customer in phase one. In phase two, we are looking to add Telstra partner access as well, and the part of that is obviously to make sure you can get paid commissions. So at the moment, you'll be aware you have to put your order into the partner portal. We want to make sure that, because this is bypassing partner portal and is actually getting your customer and yourself what you need right now, that you actually still get paid, because it's kind of an important part of this. Third phase would be that we get general single sign-on access, what's called a Canto One access for all Telstra staff. That's what we're aiming to do, but probably the best thing to do is just show it to you, because I think this thing is best seen when you can actually see it happening live. So I'm hoping Brad is going to show you how we're going to create a user and show you it all happening in real time. So over to you, Brad.
Thanks, Paul. Get my desktop back. Now. With me. Hopefully you can see that now. So this is the UC self-serve portal. So this is what we've been working on over the last couple of weeks. So it's got 4 elements to it at this stage. The ability to add tippet users to a site, the ability to just add tippet packs to a site, also to be able to control SIP channels. We're still just working on some elements within that, but we'll show you what that's going to look like. And also we've upgraded the Business Connect management feature of what you may know as the existing UC1 portal. So we've dragged that into the same overall portal here and allowed you to manage that. So I'm just going to dive into this. So I've logged into this as an enterprise user. We will be revalidating customers' enterprise login and basically adding them to a whitelist to be able to access this portal. So just so we understand who it is that's coming in, that they're actually an authorized rep to be able to do this. So they'll log in as at the enterprise level. So they'll see their sites down here. So I'm going to select my Sydney site. Try that again. Joys of leaving it sitting there idle for a while. So I'm going to enter my contact details there, and you can see down the bottom here, I've now got the option here to add some new tippet users. So I can go in there and add my name in here, and just to prove that this is actually live, I'll call that 1113. Just going to overwrite that, isn't it? I can then go across and choose what I want to add. So do I want to pick a basic, standard, executive, maybe a Liberate Mobile, or hoteling. I'm just going to pick a standard pack today. I can also pick any additional packs that I want. So I might actually add a call center license to this particular user, and I can do that again. So if I had a call center and a receptionist, for example, I can add all three packs at the same time. I can then go and pick a device. So I can actually pick an existing device, or I can obviously purchase or rent devices as well. So I might go and rent a 501, and you'll notice it's now popped an additional section up here around my shipping details. So I'm just going to add those in there to keep it happy. And just to prove we're not making this up, I'm just going to jump over to, get rid of you, the Compilot, and have a look in here, and you can see at the moment there's only one user. So jump back to the UC portal. So I've selected my one user. I can actually add additional ones in there, so I can add additional rows if I want to. But for today, I'm just going to do the one. So I'm going to hit submit. And when I hit submit, that's actually going to go and do that build straight away on the portal. So let's hit go. It's going to give me the usual confirm that I am accepting the charges that are going to pop up about that. Hit go. Skip over to the Compilot, and you can see there is my new user. So everything I'm doing in this portal is now instantaneously creating users, packs, and making changes within the Tippet and SIP environment. So I can dive into that user, and there's my user that's been created. The platform will also send me an email that's got my activation credentials, as Paul mentioned. So I can go and download Business Connect, and I can be up and running straight away. Likewise, if I was a Liberate user, I can then jump over to the new Liberate portal and add Liberate to that user. So they're up and running straight away. The users themselves, once they're created, that's obviously then just sent off to our provisioning area, and they'll then do the billing. So the billing is still manual at this stage, but the important bits, we're getting the user up and running and created straight away. So you can see there we have the partner code in there today. As Paul mentioned, phase one, it's actually not doing anything, but we've just built it into the portal so it's there and ready. But it will be obviously in phase two. You put your partner code in there, and then that's then going to trigger a commission request after commissioning based on what's actually been requested in the portal here. This section here will also have a bulk upload capacity as we move forward. So rather than having to sit here and add rows, I'll just be able to download a spreadsheet as a template and put all my credentials into that and upload those, and then activate away from there. So that's the add Tippet users. Bit of a game changer, as I'm sure anyone has run orders through provisioning. That can take 3, maybe 4 weeks at its worst to get a new user added to an existing site. So that way I've got that done instantaneously. Obviously, in that previous example I explained, I actually requested a handset. So that is sending an email off to Westcon to basically ship that straight out of our pre-purchase stock. So that process should be fairly quick as well. So as soon as they receive that, they can actually ship that out to the customer, and they are then going to send the customer an email with the shipping information on it as well. So the next thing we can do in here is I can just add packs. So it's going to show me what I've got on my site today. So how many licenses I've got and am I using them? So I can see here at the top, I've got one Liberate mobile pack and one's in use. All my other packs have got one, and my standard pack's now got one in use because I actually obviously added that user just before. So it's letting me know what's going on. If I want to go and order some new packs, I can come down the bottom here and simply go and select the pack that I want. And this can be any pack, even a pack that's not actually associated with the site. So if I wanted to go and add, I don't know, a wallboard, add a new pack, same sort of process, and that's now added the wallboard pack in for me. So really simple way of being able to increment packs. So really good for customers that are a bit more skilled in Compilot, or yourselves if you're doing it on behalf of them. You know, great example lately, customers wanting to add more call center agents. So that the user already exists, so I just need to add the agent pack, the call center agent pack. So I can go through and add those through this portal as well. I'll just jump over to Business Connect. So Business Connect allows me to log into my site, and rather than have to dive to each user as I used to have to do before, I can actually just go and add it to all my users at the site. So this is probably more relevant for customers who've done, for example, an upgrade from a basic pack to a standard pack. So they're now licensed for Business Connect, but if that was sort of done manually, it hasn't automatically added them. So this just allows you to go and select all, in essence, and deploy it across the entire group. So as soon as that's done, all those users that are licensed to be able to have Business Connect can start using Business Connect. The SIP side of things today. So if I go into SIP channel management, what we've actually done, and I just need to change the share on this, apologies. So we're just in the process of building the SIP side of it out a little bit further. We did have an initial view, but we're making some changes to that. So in essence, when you click on SIP channels, you'll dive into this SIP channels management. It will give you the option to have a manage enterprise trunks or manage single trunks. So if you have enterprise trunks, obviously this option will light up. If you don't have enterprise trunks, it actually won't show. So I can dive into there. It's going to show me my enterprise trunk IDs, show me a list of my registering trunk IDs, and then let me simply go and add channels. So if I've got 75 today, I can add another 15. Once again, hit go, and that will go onto the platform and make the changes across the platform in the places that it needs to be made to add the increased capacity to the trunk group itself, and then down on the individual registering trunks. So same thing around single trunks, obviously just being a little bit simpler. I'll dive in and I can actually just select the group that I want to make the changes on, and same thing, I can just add additional channels. Once again, instantaneous on the platform. So a really simple way for customers and yourselves to make those changes to configurations and make it a whole lot more visible for customers around being able to make those changes as well, so they actually understand what their NRs are and those sorts of things. I think that's about it for me from the portal side of things. So what I'm going to do,
say, Brad, that,
yep,
you know, from a partner perspective, this may now change going forward how you order SIPit. For instance, you could decide for a new partner site, you're going to get your orders in early. You don't know the details yet, but you need to get your orders in early to create a new enterprise, new group, get some phone numbers in. But you might order minimal users. You might order just one user, all right? Because you know you can then come back to this portal when you're ready and when the customer's got all their details and add 100 users if you want, you know, to complete it as an AMC. But this, if you think about this could change the way you do things, right? It would allow you to get an order, a typical order in early with minimal info that you can then populate when you have all the required info from the customer. Have a think about that, particularly obviously once we get you paid through this portal as well. Back to you.
No worries. Am I sharing the right screen?
No, if you want to go through some of the questions, lads, on the portal, because there's obviously a fair few here from the partners in regards to the. I think we've got time for it now, or do you want to answer them at the end?
A common theme, Tim?
Maybe at the end, Tim, because we're.
Yep, no worries.
20 past. So yeah, look, we will answer those questions. Absolutely.
Hold on to the end. Basically, it'll keep you here to the end, basically. So if you hang on to the end, we'll hang around as long as you need. All
right, so I just wanted to give you a quick update on just some information we've sort of found. Our engineering guys have done a bit of an audit across the platform. And this is, I guess, important for you guys to understand, I guess, if you've got people doing configuration of customer equipment. Out of the 530 enterprise trunks that we have in operation across the platform, 60% of them are actually misconfigured from the customer's CPE end. So the issues that we've identified are generally customers are registering to one SBC pool only. And in that, they're generally registered to the one SBC pool in each state. So they've essentially got no diversity. It also means that if we do have an outage on that SBC pool, they're going to see a disruption to service. We also see a number of customers with only one SBC registered. So we just wanted to quickly highlight that so that you guys understand that. And so what you're looking at from a best practice design, and we will be communicating further on this. This was just a quick heads up because we knew this meeting was happening this week. So if you have a data center in two different states, then the way we want you to be connecting is through to the high level domains, which are these ones here, where you've got sbc.newsouthwales.nifit.telstra.com. That actually will then attach you to 2 geo-redundant pools in New South Wales, and that's the same in each state. So you've got basically 2 Telstra exchanges in each state that have a pair of SBCs in each state. So this will give you redundancy between New South Wales and Victoria, where you've got your data centres in, for example, New South Wales and Victoria. So if you have the situation on the next slide where both of your data centres are in the one state, then what we want you to do is actually attach directly to the SBC pool in each exchange in each state. So you can see here that the SBC address is actually SBC New South Wales-1 and SBC New South Wales-2. So what that means is if something happens with pool number 1, your other session border controller from the customer side is already registered to the platform. So calls will just immediately flow down the alternate path or continue to flow down them if you're doing load sharing. Whereas if you're in the previous example where you're connected to the higher level domain and you're both of your SBCs are connected to SBC1, then there's going to be a period where you're going to need to fail over, so that SBCs are going to need to refail across to SBC2, so you are going to lose traffic during that period of time. So it's just around having the optimum best practice design so that you're minimising any outage that may occur. Obviously, for customers that have only got one SBC registered on an enterprise trunk, that's obviously a pretty bad idea, and you've got all your eggs in one bucket. So we don't want to see that from a customer design point of view. All right, that's it from me, Paul.
Thank you, Brad. Bang on time. Look at that, 11:25. You'd have thought we'd rehearse this, which we haven't. Anyway, so moving swiftly on, if you can, while you guys swap the screens around. So I'm now going to hand over to Ray and Darren from Nimbus, because they have built a great portal which we think would really help our customers with administering their tippet and SIP. So I won't try and explain it because it's actually best explained by seeing it live. But probably over to Darren, who has had many years in Telstra. A lot of you would know him from his Telstra years, working with the solution architects in Telstra. So he's only just been gone, I don't know, 6 months, and already he's back working with us on a lot of customers. So over to you. Actually, I think Ray's going first. Sorry, Darren, isn't it? Ray. So over to Ray first.
Thanks, Paul. Good morning, everybody. As Paul just said, Darren and I are from Nimbus. We're an Australian company that focuses on simplifying telephony management for you and your customers. One key area of expertise is our interest in telephony, in IP telephony, including SIP trunks. Between us, we've had over 50 years of history in the telco industry. We're there in the good old days of POTS through to ISDN, and now onto the IP world, which is pretty exciting. As you can see, telecommunications is in our DNA, and we love dealing with it. And we're here to help you and your customers work more effectively with your solutions. We've developed an intuitive web portal that dramatically simplifies viewing and changing your client's telephony setup, making it easier for them to use and for you to support. Everything from real-time audit, call forward of extensions and trunks, to feature control, to business continuity planning and execution, that can all be done through our Nimbus Hub portal. All of this information is always in Compilot, but as everyone knows, Compilot is reasonably complex, and if you're not using it every day, you can spend a lot of time navigating your way through it. Our Nimbus Hub solution gives you this in a single portal and a single view. More importantly, it gives you the opportunity to start a new conversation with your clients. We can help you to help your clients get the best out of their tippet infrastructure and managing their SIP trunks, and obviously gives you a new revenue generating opportunity. We're seeing people now starting to build out support for their clients and managed services where they take over this management of the customer's infrastructure on their behalf. The beauty of this is that it can be accessed from any device, mobile, laptop, tablet, or any PC, from anywhere at any time. You don't have to be, if you've got a customer who's on MPLS, you don't have to be on the infrastructure. You can do it via the internet. Darren's going to take you through now and just give you an overview of how it all works. So over to you, Darren.
Thanks, Ray. Just for a quick run through of how our portal works, I'll go through a couple of different stages. I'll start with the tippet side of things, then I'll move into how we work with SIP Connect. I'm going to show a little feature we've developed around dashboards, and then I'll go into the business continuity planning. So I'll try and keep it fairly quick. The screen you can see in front of you, for those of us who used Compilot before, looks pretty similar. I've logged in here and I'm looking at a particular group. You can see on the left-hand side here that the tippet group is the N number. We've got our usernames, our first names and our last names, the same sort of way we see a tippet user. Over to the right, we've got a couple of other features. You'll see here that we've got whether or not call forward is enabled on the service, whether or not the service is liberated. If it's liberated, we've got the mobile number that sits behind liberate. We've got whether a device is registered. In the case of these two devices, they're mobiles because they're liberates. We're not seeing those. But if I scroll down and change my view to 50 instead of 25, we'll be able to see is here we've got a physical device. It's a VVX 500. It's running 5.8.174 firmware. We've also got over to the side here, I'm just going to move away for a second, the last call date. All of this configuration is actually exportable. The bonus with looking at primary handset type, of course, is if you're doing firmware upgrades or you need some visibility of the services, if you hit the export button up the top, you can see we can actually export this view for the entire group. So at the moment, we're only seeing 50 users on this screen, but we can get it for the whole group. And because we're extracting the information direct from BroadSoft, if changes are made in BroadSoft, we're updated automatically. There's no manual configuration at all. Covers tippet. If I look at, as I said, we can export to Excel. In a recent customer environment, I did a lot of work with them doing some firmware upgrades on some VVX handsets. One of the things that we ran into trouble with was identifying which phones were actually working before we started doing the firmware upgrades. So what we did is we exported the file, we ran all the upgrades, and then we ran it again and exported again and did a comparison. It was quite surprising how many people had unplugged their phones and put them in the drawer over the COVID environment. So it's kind of handy to get a nice real-time picture of what's happening on the network. So what I'll do now is I'll just flip over to the way we treat SIP trunks. I'll just click up on configure here and I'll hit the drop-down box. These are the actual groups that are associated with my login in Nimbus. So you can see we've got a lot of Telstra Tippet demo ones. We've got here one called SIP Trunk Telstra. If I just click to that one and click apply, what we've done now, we've just flicked over to the group that's actually a SIP Trunk DID. You can see by the naming convention, it's actually an enterprise trunk. Similar arrangement, we've got username, first name, last name. Now this particular group has a lot of business continuity packs assigned, so you can see we've actually got the ability to activate, deactivate, call forwarding. Now there's a few other things over on the right here that might not be too valid. If I want to change the view, I just go in and I say, well, okay, we don't want last call date, I don't want handset date. Probably keep the liberate number. I'll talk about device registered in a minute. Now I've got a nice view of the group, the call forwarding features, if the service has been liberated, and I've got a nice way of saying, hey, here's all my numbers that are liberated. If I want to turn call forward on or off, I'll simply click on a box. That's real time. So having made that change, that feature is now active in the platform. If I want to take it off, similar arrangement. You can also see that the call forward destination number remains. So if you're in a situation where you'd like to do some sort of audit, you can actually search on these columns. So if I wanted to look for 0438872178, enter. It will actually give me back only the extensions that can meet that filter. So you can set multiple filters in an environment where you might want to find someone's individual phone instead of scrolling through the whole group. You just punch their phone, first name, last name, or the phone number in, and away you go. Okay. Onto there. Now, before we talk about business continuity and disaster recovery, I just wanted to show you a feature we've developed because a lot of our clients have been talking about a need for a single view or a dashboard view of what their network looks like. So what we've done is we built a little thing called device status. What we're doing here is we've got four sites. Now, the SIP trunk for Telstra is showing unregistered at the moment, but you can see we're actually getting a check and doing a check of the registration status of the devices or the phone number that we're specifying. And you can see here the primary handset types. You can see here for this particular site, we've specified it's a VVX4. The one we're looking at is a VVX500. We've got the firmware version 417, but in another site, you can see we've got the firmware version 5.8.1. So what it does is it gives us a nice way of saying, at a really quick view, what's the status of my site? We built a similar solution for another customer who has 91 SIP trunk sites, and we can pull this dashboard up and we can do a quick run through for the customer to say, okay, if I filter device registered, I know they're okay. If I filter not registered, they'll be the sites that are giving me the alarm bell saying, hey, I better go and find out. So that's something that's been out there for a little while in a need. We saw it, a couple of customers told us they wanted it, so we built it in. So a little bit about Phone Manager. One thing I did forget to cover, and I am going to go back, my apologies, is you'll see here, if we look at a SIP trunk and we look at the call forwarding, it's important for us to remember that when we set a call forward at the SIP trunk level, we're not using any capacity. So a lot of the issues that have come up recently around COVID, people working from home, diverting their phones and things like that, it's chewing out our customers' trunk capacity. If we put the diversions on up in the cloud, we can actually bypass that need. So normally in a PABX environment, if you're call forwarding on a SIP trunk, the call comes into the PABX and then it's essentially tromboned out to another number. A couple of shortcomings, of course. One is that it uses the capacity, so you will run out of trunks for the users. The other thing that comes in is the A-party calling line ID. So if you call forward on a PABX or on a piece of equipment, essentially, in most cases, the calling line ID that goes out is going to be a work phone number. It's not going to be the caller's phone number. If we do it in the cloud using the Nimbus portal or even on a SIP trunk, you set that diversion, it actually preserves the A-party CLI. A perfect example would be a customer who has Genesis Pure Cloud. They've got an advertised phone number that people ring that is part of their direct indole number range. If they call forward that on the PABX, they're chewing up trunks. It might be a high volume call center. They're going to need a lot of trunks. But more importantly, when the call arrives at the call center, every call is going to look the same. It's not going to have any way of saying, okay, Joe Blogg's called this phone number and it was diverted. So you lose that CRM capability. So it's kind of a really important thing for customers who've got diversions on numbers that go into call center. The last thing I wanted to cover off was plans. So what we've done with plans is we've combined all the bits and pieces that we've learned over time and built into the call forwarding, the monitoring and things like that. And we've created this capability to actually predefine and preload bulk call forwarding rules. So you can essentially determine and preload your situations, preload all of your settings, sitting there waiting for an event. And it might be a planned event, it might be an emergency, but we don't limit the number of these plans you can create. There's a number of phases in building a plan. I've preloaded a couple here just to demonstrate that it's possible to have a plan just loaded against a SIP trunk. It's also possible to have one against a single tippet site. But what we can also do is we can combine them together. So we have this ability to combine multiple groups, whether they're tippet, whether they're SIP Connect, into the one plan. So you don't have to go, okay, this has happened at one site, I need to change all the diversions here. This has happened at another site. You can do it all in one go. So the stages of building a plan are effectively a create and configure. Now, we've already got some plans here that we've built. We've got a deploy, we've got a rollback, and we've got an audit phase. So I'll just show you what that really means on this plan. I'll pick the SIP trunk one to start with. Look at the little right here. If I look at, say, configure, because we've actually already built this one, what we're doing is just going through and setting what we would like to happen when the plan is run. So if I wanted to change this particular phone at the moment, 6200, we've got it configured in the plan, but we're actually turning call forwarding off on that one. I want to turn that on and I hit save. What we've done now is we've modified the plan to say, okay, when we run the plan, these are the things that's going to run. Okay. By hitting the save button on the end here, that's automatically updated the plan. If I go back to the back page.
Darren, might be worth pointing out, so this is in conjunction with the SIP Connect BCP pack that you can obviously put onto a user.
It is, that's right. Yeah, so there's two parts to this. That is correct, Brad. So you still need the BRS or BCP, Business Continuity SIP Mobility pack that is part of the SIP trunking product, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so that basically allows you to add that call forwarding capability at network level. And as Darren said, we've had a stack of customers that have come to us requesting that capability to be able to have network level business continuity plans to redirect individual DIDs to alternate numbers. Sorry, mate.
That's right. No, you're cool. Thanks, Brad. That's great. Now you can see here, because I've made a change to it, it's showing now the last action on that plan was configured. And if you look over to the right, we've got some hierarchy here. Now, Nimbus demo is actually me logged in here, but effectively we track and we can report on the events, what's happened, who changed things, and effectively we can put that into an export function up the top here. In this case, we're just actually exporting the configuration of the plan. If I go through, and the next thing I'll be doing is a deploy. So after I've modified the plan, I'm just doing a quick deploy here. Are you sure you want to deploy? Yes. And what it's doing is it's going and changing all those call forward settings that we put in the plan. It's also checking to say, okay, what's changed since we did the plan? You can see here, we've got 2 numbers configured. There's 97 numbers that aren't configured. And by missing configuration, that's not a bad thing. That's just showing us the services that are in the customer range that we're not doing anything with. We also have removals. So if we've modified the plan, it shows us what's changed. I'm just going to hit continue here. You can see it's doing a preparing rollback plan. What we're actually doing is taking a snapshot of the current settings on the services just before we roll the plan. And the reason why we do that is when we want to take the plan out, we want to actually be able to put things back the way they were. So the next step, of course, is to do a rollback. Now we're selecting a rollback date. So because this plan's been run a few times before, we've kept copies of what's happened in the past. Now, the default is to obviously put it back the way it was just before we ran the plan, which is what I'm doing now. And this is essentially reversing the plan back and putting things back the way they were just before we rolled the plan out. Because if you think of it, there might be a situation where you have a number permanently diverted and you might want to change that diversion during your business event, but then you need to put it back the way it was. This way, it's only a single step. And of course, once we've rolled back, we have this concept of history. What we're doing now is we're actually showing, you can see on the left-hand side here, the plans, the plan name, when it was last deployed, who deployed it, whether it succeeded or failed, how many numbers were changed, how many failed, what we rolled it back to. So it gives us a great audit trail to say, hey, this is who did it, this is when it happened, this is how it worked at the time. And we can, of course, export this into a PDF, so you can copy paste it into a report, keep a history. The same with the export function on all the plans. You can export the group configuration so you can get sign off, you can get people to fill in what boxes they'd like to do and send it back before you actually build the plan. Now, one of the key points about the plan is the concept that we can actually control the user level. So at the user level, so someone may have the ability to create a plan, execute or deploy a plan, roll the plan back and report. Another person, you might want to assign the ability to only run one particular plan. That way it can be controlled at the site level without having a centralized control unit. The person can only run or deploy or roll back. They can't modify, so you still have that control level. So we can do it at a security level where we can actually control who can do what elements within the plan. Okay, that's probably it for me for a demo. Sorry, I was a bit rushed, but we're at time, so I'll hand it back.
Yeah, I was about to give you a little time warning.
Yes,
that's all right. You've done well. Going to be a feedback. So thank you, Darren. A lot of questions there on the BCP, business continuity plan, or BRS. Even we've got our naming convention confused. But the $4 pack that you apply to the SIP trunk that enables that feature to work. All right, so really important part. Remember, yes, it's $4 per number, but you're going to save your customers a whole bunch of issues with doubling up of SIP trunk capacity in and out of their PBX when they call forward to mobile. And also, as Darren says, the CLI then shows correctly when it
I was just going to say, if anyone wants to talk to at the end, I didn't flick a slide up at the end. It's got all our contact details. After the pres, I will flick it up on the screen. Just want to take a photo. So
basically, go direct to Darren. Anyone got any queries? Darren or Ray, who can sort you out. I want to go straight to Graham though, because we've managed to still secure his 15 minutes. So Graham's now going to talk to us from tollring about the call analytics product they have. Over to you, Graham.
Thank you, Paul. Tollring Call Analytics is a business critical tool for customers to gain powerful insights and monitor their critical business call metrics, but also for partners and account managers. It's a key differentiator to monitor performance, feature upsell, drive customer engagement and retention. As Paul said at the top of the call, Tollring goes to market via partners and service providers, and our local partner being New Tech Solutions. And we share the revenue with the partners, creating a new revenue stream. And we've been doing this for around 25 years. So what's on the screen at the moment is our portal, the iCall Suite portal for call analytics. It's accessible by any browser, whether it be laptop, mobile, or PC. And we have 3 analytics license options available. If we use Bunnings as a company for an example, what sort of users would want a set of licenses? So if we think about management, there could be a state manager, a district manager, regional manager, all the way down to a store manager. Any of those managers would want to have analytics to report on the respective stores that they are responsible for, and you can drill down and give them to reporting for those stores. For the marketing team, if they were doing reporting around their campaigns, so they can do a lot of digital management out there and get their analytics at a digital level. But when it comes to coming inside the phone system, the iCall Suite can give them some stats around their campaigns back into their geo numbers. And also, if they're monitoring customer experience, there's a range of reports in there for them. And more importantly, if they've got call centers dotted around the country, and you've got supervisors and managers of those call centers, they naturally want to get some reporting around the live call queues, what's happening with agent statuses, signed in, signed out, wrap-up codes, etc., etc. And there's a whole heap of reporting there. So there's a license subscription available for many different types of users selling into the customer base. I thought I'd start here, given we're only got a short period of time, just to talk about dashboards. Dashboards is one of the areas that's to provide a user of call analytics a quick snapshot of what's happening with inside their business. And there's a range of different dashboards available. There's in this business productivity dashboard, so I'm going to click to one now, which is the departmental dashboard. This is where you can sort of drill down into a department, but as you can see with a quick click, I'm starting to now see a lot of information about what's happening with inside this department. The call traffic, inbound, outbound, transferred, outgoing. But most importantly, one of the key things that comes up a lot is around missed calls. It's about highlighting and making visible missed calls within inside a business. And then the next section of the missed calls, you can see 39 missed calls here. You've got the ability then to drill down and say, of those 39 missed calls, 15 have been unreturned, 24 have been returned, but we can sort of then see, were they returned by the customer having to call back in, or was that by us actually reaching out to the customer? So it's a really good gauge around that customer experience. And more importantly, if we've got unreturned missed calls, what business are we missing? What revenue are we missing within inside our business? So a really good snapshot there. You can see the call distribution. You can start to see what happens on an hourly basis across your the days. You can change the date range to be more than just a day. You can put it across any custom date range. But you're starting to see when have I got the most calls coming in, and in particular which ones are incoming, and have I got enough staff within inside my business to cater for that. Finally, getting down to the bottom there, just another set of call stats around your outgoing, incoming calls, average talk times, and a series of different information that sits below around users and DDI performance. So that's one of the dashboards that are available. If you're running a call center structure and using call center licenses, we have a standard pre-configured ACD wallboard that's available. Again, you've got the ability to actually select the different types of call queues, and it's just a pre-configured wallboard with a range of information, and the agent status is sitting down below. So this will just cycle through and provide this live. This is something you can obviously publish up onto a screen or onto a website if you wanted to pass that information and share it to your broader teams. If that wasn't enough for me and I wanted to configure up my own wallboard, I've got the ability, any user's got the ability to go through and configure up a customized wallboard for themselves, and from that wallboard really drill down on specific information that's relevant to them. And again, it's something that they can publish up onto a screen and share up onto a TV screen around the business. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a feel for what's happening in the dashboards that are available. There is contact center productivity dashboard as well, which also gives us the, if you're thinking about those call center agents, I can now see a group view of my call center agents and what the status is of those, or who's on a call, who's off a call, who's free, who's signed in, signed out. So that's sort of the final component there on the dashboards. If I go back to the reporting catalog, there is a really extensive reporting catalog that's available inside iCall Suite. If I start on the left here, I'm not going to go through every single report, but the user reports in particular, I'll just drill down. I can go down and see site, I can see department, I can go down to an extension level. So if I'm looking to drill down and compare performance of individuals across a team, etc., I'm able to do so. What I wanted to just quickly cover off is each of the reports, when you go into a report, there's a real ability to apply some filters. I can do a time and date range of a filter. I also can start to drill down, as you can see there with the extensions, select specific extensions and drill down. I can go down to department, cost centers, sites, or groups. If it's a campaign, I can start to choose campaigns. If I'm looking for call activity around a campaign, I can choose whether I want inbound or outbound calls, set of restrictions there. So a number of filters can be applied to any of the reports to really customize the report to meet your requirements or what you're looking for your reporting. If there's a particular report that I thought, well, that's a really good report, I actually might want to put it up as created as a tile and put it back on my dashboard in that customized dashboard area. If I think that's something I want to look at on a daily basis, I can add it to favorites. When I add it to the favorites, I'm able to filter out any of the columns that I might want to go into that report. And each time I go into my favorites, I will get that report will come back with those filters pre-selected. I can export to PDF or CSV if I want to include in a management report. If I wanted to email this out to a manager, I can. Any of the reports are able to be emailed out to an individual or a group of email addresses. And finally, I can schedule it. So a report could be, I want it to go out on every day, send it out to my management team or a particular group of people, whether it's daily, monthly, weekly, quarterly. And finally, throughout the platform, there's obviously a range of help where there's online help tutorials, glossary of terms, and so forth. If I go back into the reports catalog, so there's a user style report. We have time of day reports where there's a plethora of information there you can sort of drill down to. I just wanted to highlight quickly our cradle to grave report. The cradle to grave report is a really good report to drill down if you're looking to see what's happening across the call journeys of customers throughout your business. If you're looking to see how an auto attendance is performing, a call queue, hunt groups with overflows, what's actually happening, it's a really good report to drill down. Customer complaining that they've came in and called into a business and bounced across different departments. Through this type column over here, you can really sort of drill down and see whether the call was answered, was it transferred, was it bounced across the business. So a really good report, and a lot of information can be gleaned from the cradle to grave report. Incoming performance, range of reports there that you can drill down into. You've seen on the dashboard earlier around missed calls. So again, I can drill down to missed calls. I can see who actually called in. And in particular, I can get a detailed list of the unreturned missed calls. So we can actually call our customers back and make sure we close out the loop with missed calls. From a DDI perspective, I've got the ability to manage different reports around DDIs. So I can drill down into, as I said earlier, what's happening with an auto attendant or a hunt group. I can still go in there and sort of see what's taking place. And with particular hunt groups, I can drill down and see what users are taking the amount of calls inside that hunt group. Is one particular user taking all the calls, and there's a training gap something we need to obviously notify. If I just go back to the reports catalog, next one along is around the customer reports. You can upload your customer base. You can then report on your customer base. So a marketing user may want to do that. A sales manager may want to drill down what's happening with their customers. There's a revenue reports where you can start to sort of track to see, you know, how much is a missed call costing my business on a daily basis. That's something you could configure into that reporting area. If you're running a contact center, again, it's got the ability to drill down to see what's happening at those call queues and what's overflowing. From a call center perspective around agent view, there is ability to drill down and start to compare what's happening with agents across the business. And naturally, you can go in here and start doing some comparisons. What's a high performer doing versus a low performer? I can really sort of drill down into that information for the call center agents. Final one around the reporting is around this availability. There is a set of availability, so there's statuses. So when you're putting in codes, so the platform will sync with Broadworks. It'll bring in any codes that you have, unavailable codes that you want to be able to report upon. You can do that inside the platform. Finally, just talked about favorites. So you can go and put a report to favorites. So inside with favorites, there's a range of reports. I've got this current month view report that I wanted to just quickly, it's already filtered into the sales queue. I'm getting a feel for what's happening around my call volumes from the start of this month. You can see I've got a graph there. I can start to sort of see what's happening with a trend. If I was sitting there going, well, that's good, but how does that compare back to last month or the month before? I can go in here and change the date range, put a custom date range, and go back to the start of April. And from that, now I can start to sort of see a broader trend of what's happening with my call flows, particularly as I've filtered this down to be the sales queue. So now I can start to see what's happening across the board from a wider view and get spot trends, identify any gaps. So that's a very short, quick overview of tollring analytics. What I thought I'd just quickly cover off now is, there's some partner benefits. We are able to share the revenue with each customer that activates. There is an activation fee. There is monthly subscriptions for each of the user licenses, and that revenue is shared out with the partners. NewTek is able to provide your customers professional end training packages to get them up and running and using the platform. It's very intuitive, but a lot of customers that we're bringing on want that sort of hour or two to go through and drill down and set up their reports and sort of customize it. And that's where the team at NewTek can help. We're also available for customer demonstrations and partner sales training, available to, if you're sitting there as a partner or internally at Telstra, sitting there saying, how can we get better to understand how analytics can help us, not only with our customer retention and using it for internally, but how do I sell it to the end customers? Finally, there we do have a landing page set up, which is our icallsuite.com/Telstra. I'll just quickly show you. There's several things here. First thing I just want to mention is we've got a free offer going at the moment. So any of your customers that subscribe to iCall Suite Analytics, they're getting up to 60 days free. So what that means, if they subscribe to a license here in today, they'll get the rest of the month of May all the way through to the end of June. They'll get that the service free to get them up and running, particularly in these challenging times. So that's an offer. Subscription that ends on June 30. So get your customers subscribed before June 30 to take advantage of that free offer. We also are running a webinars for Telstra partners and their end customers. They're every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. You can click this link to register. And the other two links over to the right there for if you've got a demo, just click the links and partner inquiries around the commercials. Click those links. There's some forms to fill in to cover off how to join us and get out there and sell analytics to your customer base and utilize it internally as a professional service potentially. So that's it for me. Covered it off in a short space of time. So I'll hand back to Paul.
Thank you, Graham. Excellent. I love your timing, mate. Excellent. I know there's a lot in there. Hey, I think today we've had literally a bumper edition of the webinar, and I know there's a ton of stuff in there. I can tell by the amount of questions that were coming through all the time. So we will hang around a bit longer for any more. Just a quick recap, because I think the content we've shown you today gives you an opportunity to go talk to your customers and really have some great conversation, particularly around COVID and post-COVID and where things are going, because The AMC portal is going to allow you to be really responsive to their changing needs. You can go and add a call center pack whenever you need. Obviously, you're going to need their login in the initial phase, but you can certainly help your customers out getting stuff done really quickly. I think you can have a conversation about the SIP trunking, the enterprise trunking misconfigurations we talked about, a great opportunity to proactively talk to your customers and help them reconfigure things. I'm sure you can provide a professional service to help them do that. And then if you look at some of the value add stuff that we've just shown you with the Nimbus portal, particularly that BCP, the business continuity planning, being able to have that conversation about the fact that they're call forwarding a lot on SIP trunks at the moment. They're burning trunks. Why don't they do it a better way by putting the pack on, using the portal to control those diverts, having a plan in place in case they have a failure anyway. And at the end of the day, the people are going to see the correct number coming through on the phone when they get the phone call. And then finally, as Graham just said on tollring, some really deep investigation you can do on the call records there. I'm assuming we're going to have a lot of customers out there with people working at home thinking, are they really working? Are they really taking calls? You know, if they're that suspicious, that platform allows them to drill down and see which people are actually responding, answering calls, responding to calls, what hours they're working, all that sort of stuff, right? So I think with what we've just shown you today, you have a great opportunity to go and have some really good discussions with customers and some really to try and help them get themselves out of the post-COVID period, and also help yourselves get your businesses firing again. So with that, we'll end the official webinar, but we will hang around. So anyone who wants to ask questions, either in chat, I dare say we could take mute off, although it could be noisy. But thank you very much to everyone else who joined. But if you want to hang around, we will hang around and